All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another great event here at Freelancers Hub. As always, I am Jalen Vasquez, the director of the Hub. Very happy to have a wonderful guest speaker who we've had here before, Miss Diana Zelvin. Today, she'll be leading the workshop, Your Ancestors May Be Sabotaging Your Financial Future. We've had this event last year, and it was only in-person events, and it sparked a lot of really great and interesting conversation of just how we're taught about money from our family, how they're taught like how to either speak about money or how they deal with money or lack thereof of how they're taught about money. So we're going to be talking about how that impacts us as a business person, as a solopreneur, freelancer, whatever that may be, just because we may not realize how much that this actually does impact us and how we go about our own business based on our upbringing. Just a little info about Diana. She is a business coach and licensed psychotherapist who has been helping people and organizations for 27 years. Since the start of the pandemic, she taught hundreds of people in workshops and webinars and different groups similar like this with her different coaching programs of how to get unstuck, become empowered, and grow their business and live their best life, even during uncertain and challenging times. She's a native Brooklyn resident for over 3 decades and known as a community leader who spearheaded impactful community projects and causes such as business strategists working with organizations on fundraising, growth and development for many, many years. And she's a longstanding board member of the North Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. So we're very happy to have her here with us. There will be a Q&A at the very end after Diana's presentation, but if you do have any like really like burning questions, feel free to write them in the chat so we can go back to them later. And Diana also has a very special offer for some of our members, so stay tuned at the very end. And this event is being recorded, so if anyone does have to leave early or anything like that, you will get the recording and have access to it for 30 days. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Diana here.
So thanks, Jalen. I had this issue before. How do I pin myself so I
can probably do it. One sec.
do that? Because
Let's see.
apologize, guys.
Does that work for you? Or if not,
Like,
it's this.
that's better.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, cool. So I got to see what I'm doing. So thank you everyone for being here. It's a great day here in Brooklyn. I don't know what it's like where you are, but I appreciate you coming. And like Jalen said, I am a business coach and psychotherapist, and I help business owners and freelancers such as yourselves build profitable businesses doing work they love. And today I'm going to be talking about how your ancestors in your family and their experiences play a humongous role in shaping your relationship with money. Love this topic. I don't hear too many people talk about it, so get ready to learn a lot about yourselves. You know, it's very important because the messages we learned in our childhood from our families may not only be keeping you from being profitable, a hard time saying that, profitable, but can seriously be sabotaging your financial future. Oh my God. And your ancestors have passed down their anxieties about money to you. You believe that? So then we're going to discuss what you can do about it. And like Jalen said, if you stay to the end, you will hear the full details of my special offer for people who are attending this talk. So just before we jump into things, I want to briefly share a little bit about my background. I know Jalen gave you a little overview, but I want to tie it into how I became so keen on this topic. And some of you have been to some of my talks, may have heard, you know, the first 10 years of my professional life, I was a freelance illustrator. And since then, I've always been self-employed. And so I know the freelancer life quite well. And over the last 3 decades, while being a psychotherapist, business coach, and entrepreneur, I've also done a lot of other cool things too. As he mentioned, you know, leading impactful community projects, working with organizations on fundraising and business development. But in total, I brought in $12 million for all those organizations, as well as my own projects, which included raising $2 million from investors for my own health club chain startup, And then a few years later, I raised another 2 million from elected officials and donors for my son's New York City public school to build a rooftop greenhouse hydroponic classroom, which was really cool and beautiful. But even though I was bringing in millions for other causes, I was not making a lot of shekels for myself. I mean, how was it I could get behind other people and other causes and raise that kind of money, but not for myself? Like, what's up with that? So my enlightenment all started with a game of Monopoly. Now, I don't like board games as a rule, mostly because playing games with my brother as a kid was extremely stressful. He had to win all costs, or he would fly into a rage, and he was really scary. So, but nevertheless, one day I find myself playing Monopoly with my son and my husband against my better judgment. I never win at Monopoly, but feeling expansive that day, I decided, screw it. I'm going to buy up as many properties as I could. So I did. I bought everything I landed on. I was winning by a lot. I had hotels and houses everywhere. But my son was mortgaging his properties and it was looking pretty miserable. And my husband, he seemed pretty annoyed because he kept landing in jail. How did I feel? Like crap. I did not enjoy winning or seeing them look so unhappy. And who thought board games in general was a good idea anyway? But then I had that light bulb moment that we all get from time to time, that being more successful than those I care about would actually hurt them. And the more I explored this issue, I found that this was one of my biggest beliefs blocking me from financial success. So the message I internalized growing up was that winning or having more than my siblings would not only hurt them, but was dangerous to me. So my fear of success partly came from that. There's other things that play into it, but that was part of it. And if I made more money, I had a better quality of life than them. They might envy me or resent me, that I'm hurting them and I'm making them feel bad. But, and I've spoken to a lot of people who have a similar fear of success. It's not necessarily they're always a sibling. Maybe it's being more successful than your parent. How would that feel? Or your friends. But the truth is that success lifts up all the other people around you. If your clients, maybe you even have employees or people you hire, and you are a role model for everyone else, right? You inspire them. And if you are more successful, the people you work with, they'll be more successful too, right? You're helping grow their business. And if they are envious, that is because of their issues. You didn't cause that, and you can't control their feelings or their experience. And I have plenty of other beliefs about money that I learned from my family. You'll hear me pepper them in, and other things I hear from my clients. But I work on them. And, we all have so many more layers to unpack. It's never ending. But now I know how to bring them into my awareness, reframe those subconscious beliefs around money, and change my views. So once I get to work on changing my money mindset, not only was I able to significantly increase my income, but it is part of the work I do with my coaching clients so that they are so much more profitable and more at peace around money, because you can make money, but you could still have a lot of anxieties around it. But that's the work we're going to be doing today. So we're going to let's take this down, start my high-tech presentation. I don't know, I just kind of like this. So we're going to kick out your ancestral ghosts and create your own money mindset so you can start making more with confidence. So in today's workshop, what do I have here? We're going to identify the messages. So it's backwards on my screen. So I can't read backwards. We're going to identify the messages your parents and ancestors passed down. We're going to uncover your underlying thoughts, fears, and beliefs that keep you stuck. Make sure you guys can see this. Discover how that's impacting your business, life, and financial future, because it is. And then you're going to learn how to change your relationship with money so you can be a badass at making money. I also just want to recommend, if you have a pen, a notepad, keep it handy, because we're going to be doing a little writing exercises so you can unpack things and learn more about yourself. So, who here wants to make a lot more money than making now? And who here wants to be a badass at making money? Put a hell yeah in the chat. Let's see. Hell yeah. All right. Talia. Oh, everybody. I can't even read these names. Rachel, Francis, Marianne. I love it. Catherine. Fabulous. Sorry, I like to read the chat. Thanks, Francis. That's interesting. Let's talk about that later. So that's great, because I'm here to help you have a complete mindset shift and get you on your pathway. So let's start with this concept. Our minds, I didn't spell that right. Okay, I can't spell anyway. Our mindset is everything, right? It's everything. And this, if you have like just one takeaway from today, this is it. What we think about, we bring about. Our thoughts control everything. And so our success, it's an inside job, really is. The thoughts we have every day are super powerful. They determine what we focus on, what actions we take, and the results we get in life. So some of you may have heard me give you some of these stats if you've been to any of my talks, but they still blow my mind. Can you believe that on average, did I write it here? No. On an average, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Anyone, like you have 80,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those 80,000 thoughts are negative. Okay, we are wired for negativity bias. That's our wiring. So we have to work with that and against it and change that. But holy cannoli, that's a lot of negativity. My gosh. And get this, according to neuroscientists, 95% of our brain activity is our conscious mind, and only 5% of our brain activity, 95% is our subconscious mind, pardon me. Subconscious mind. That's a huge number. 5% of our brain activity is our conscious mind, meaning that every day our negative subconscious thoughts are responsible for the majority of the decisions we make and the actions we take. It's crazy. And scientists believe that 40 to 90% of our behavior are our habits. I don't know if anyone here has read Atomic Habits, great book. James Clear, the writer, talks a lot about how much of what we do is habitual. So our lives are basically run by our subconscious thoughts and our habits. I mean, come on, that's kind of scary when you think about it, right? So we're going to uncover what your beliefs are around money. So if you bear with me, hopefully there'll be no technical difficulties. I have a couple of songs I want you to hear, and just pay attention to the words. And that's all you need to do right now. People will laugh, they will cheat. People don't care who they hurt or be. A woman will sell her precious body for a small piece of paper. It carries a lot of weight. More than
You can give them to the birds and bees and me. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. Your love gives me such a thrill, but your love, it don't pay my bills. I need money. That's what I want.
Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed that little musical interlude. I don't know about you, but I can't stop moving now. So, I want you, hopefully you got to read the words, and I want you to think about song number 1, the OJs, For the Love of Money. And they talked about how money is the root of all evil. Or was it that's an old song, Money, That's What I Want. A lot of people have done that. This is Cheryl Kay and Aquafina. She does a rap later in the song. But anyway, and she talks about how much she loves money and how much she wants it, right? So put in the chat, number 1, if the first song, the OJ song, resonated for you, and put in 2, if the second song resonated for you. Can You Pay My Bills by Destiny Child? I do like that song. Let's see, 1, 2. Okay. Both in different ways, Marianne. Cool. Yeah, so we got a mixture. Yeah, it's a little balanced. Cool. All right, thanks for playing along. So, because that's the beginning of starting to think about what do you think about money, right? We don't often stop. We just say these things about money, but we don't really stop and think about it. And it's such a part of everything in our lives, right? So let's find out what your thoughts are really costing you, because it may be a lot more than you even realize. So I want you to ask yourself questions like this. When you think about, are you making enough money right now? Are you making the kind of money you want to be making? Does your income affect how you feel about yourself? Does your income affect your relationships? Are you avoiding new opportunities? And are you fully living the life you want? Does it affect your mental health? That's a big one. So put in the chat, you just put a word or two, what you think your current beliefs around money could be costing you. I like Tylea about the music. Yeah, and it takes a minute to type these things, so I'll give you a minute. Let's see. Is it costing you high-level income, secure financial future, healthy relationships, good self-esteem, right? Sleep, right, Kitty, totally sleep. Tylea, I feel you. Regardless how much I worry, it's not enough. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Sleep. Yes, I had a nightmare about money. Sheila, the life I want, higher income, more secure. Right. Income, opportunity, health, Jalen, sleep. Sleep is a big one, right? Wakes you up in the night, your heart's racing, or you can't get to sleep. My beliefs are costing me more money and self-esteem. Stress, financial future, right, Rachel? Income. What worry would I give a big pay cut? For sure. Emily, I'm most scared to sell things. Anna, sense I can actually have a life I enjoy. It's costing. Thank you guys for being so vulnerable. Deanna, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's costing me my secure financial future and freedom. Totally. Mary Ann, thanks, self-esteem, time with family. Francis, peace and calm, right? We want more peace, right? Because and we're going to talk about that, can't travel, never have enough money. It's a lot. It's costing us a lot, right? So here's something you may or may not know, but the number one thought that holds most people back from believing they're deserving of making money is they think that it's bad. In other words, that it's bad to want to make a lot of money, that it's morally wrong, it's selfish, greedy, or even shameful. I mean, who here believes money is the root of all evil, or that rich people maybe do bad things to become rich? If you believe thoughts like that, put I do in the chat. See who has some of that thought. I do. Joanna, Darcy, Leah, Jenny, Francis. It's really, really common. Okay, Rachel has feelings about capitalism that's tied to that. I've greed is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of evil, not money itself. Okay, I like that spin on that. I don't know how to, I dream. I love that name. Yeah, Lena, I believe there are unethical ways, so I choose not to go against my values. Okay, so Lena has a choice, and we're going to be talking about choice. Deanna, I don't believe money is inherently bad, but most people who have a lot of it are not great people. Okay, I'm going to challenge you on that. So let's get to it. I'm really going to challenge you. So a lot of people think you do have to do unsavory things to make a lot of moolah, like taking advantage of others, right? That rich people have done whatever it takes to get rich. The news reinforces this by focusing on the bad things that people have done to make money. But you don't hear as much about the good things wealthy people are doing in the world. And ironically, we are often at odds within ourselves. We think we want to make more money, but internally, we may be conflicted or even against acquiring wealth and prosperity, as a lot of these comments reflect that. Yeah, they really do. Because if we believe rich people stink, they suck, how can we really be open to acquiring wealth, right? While there are some wealthy people who are stinky, there are also some wealthy people who are totally awesome. We just don't hear about them, right? Because they're quietly, they don't need to brag. They do things quietly, doing good in the world. They run big companies that employ thousands and thousands of people, and those people take care of their families. You know, I want to help you have a shift in the mindset about that. And that's not taking advantage of others. That's giving people jobs and income, right? But there are also poor people who are stinky too. And then there are some poor people that are totally awesome. So we can talk more about that, especially when we get to the Q&A. I know, Francis, thank you. I know a lot of wonderful, wealthy people. I am one of them. Yeah, but I need more money. I love Francis already. Okay, if we think making money is bad or evil, then why would it come to us? We're actually rejecting money. If we don't think we should have it, why would we try to get it, right? With thoughts like those about wealth, we subconsciously keep ourselves from making a lot of money. Holy moly. I mean, did you even know that? Right? That you're keeping yourself from it. You know, we're not born with any feelings or beliefs about money, right? Babies, we're a blank slate. So who are the first people we learn about money from? Our family, right? So let's talk about them. Oops, sorry. This high-tech version. Sometimes the high-tech version here has a lot of technical difficulties. All right. So, yes, in fact, all of us have heard or absorbed messages about money that are passed down for generations and generations. That's what I love to talk about. Our family's experiences and beliefs about money have a huge impact on our relationship to money. It shapes our views, how we think about it, how we feel about it, and whether we truly believe we deserve it. And talking about money in the family is often so taboo or even dirty, just like talking about sex. I mean, I don't feel it's dirty, but that's how families feel, that most parents do not have open or healthy educational conversations around money with their kids. I know mine sure didn't. So whose parents here had healthy, positive conversations with them about money? Put either hell yes or hell no in the chat. I'm going to see if there's anyone here who got a good financial hell no. Oh, nope. Oh, no. Hell no. 0. Rachel, thumbs down. Right? Right? We should be hell no. What conversation? My father had a healthy relationship. My mother does not. Right. So parents may be unequally split. Right. Nope. Nope. My dad's a businessman, never talked about money. I know. They didn't even know that they could or should, right? They didn't know that their kids were absorbing everything we see, right? And hear. It's not just only what we hear. Right. Tylea, we're going to get to that super negative programming amount money, Tiana, right? Okay. So let's start with accessing the views your family had about money, because your parents actually learned a lot from their parents, your grandparents, and your grandparents learned from their parents, your great-grandparents, and so on, right? What played out in their life that played a part in how they feel about money, okay? So I want you to think about these ancestors. Were they in the Holocaust? Were they are you descendants of slavery? Were they Depression era kids? Did they immigrate, from another country to escape persecution, poverty, war, or they just wanted a better life? As each generation goes through hard times or even atrocities, they unintentionally teach their children their fears and their anxieties about money. Those things that are keeping you up at night, this stuff is really passed down, and whatever they went through, that's in addition to the real economic limitations of their country of origin and what our country imposed upon them through laws, policies, systemic prejudice, and racism. So think about what your family went through that you're aware of, because we don't always know. I mean, there's a limit to how much we know. So we're going to do a little speculating. But so for example, in the 1880s, that's when most of my ancestors came to this country to escape anti-Jewish policies and the pogroms in Russia, in Finland, Ukraine, and Poland. So I think about, my God, what did they go through giving up everything, coming to this country? Did they have anything? That period of time, our country had more immigrants than any other period of time. It was 2.3 million came through Ellis Island, and everyone packed into the Lower East Side. It was the most densely populated neighborhood per square foot ever, ever. So what were their living conditions like? Could they get jobs? Did they speak the language? We can understand, we can be an empathic, why they were really scared around money, or all the other things that your family went through. Think about how hard and scary things were. Now, I'm not saying that is that way for everyone. I mean, I have also worked with people who come from wealth that was passed down for generations, but they have anxiety about them being taken advantage of, and some of them were taken advantage of and losing money. And also my clients feel insecure that they could never ever accomplish or make as much, or even families who come from great wealth can be very frugal, even to the point of I have one client whose grandparents would make him call collect. And they were really, he didn't live like he came from money. So there's so much that is tied to our family's experiences. So I want you to think about your ancestors, your family's experiences, and how that impacted their views on money. So I'm just going to take a minute to write down some ideas of what you think. just because of the essence of time, take a minute. And that's a question that you can ask, you can do after, which is, again, what did your ancestors, your family's experiences, how did that impact their views on money? So I'll give you a few prompts, right? What lack of civil rights or prejudices or language barriers did they face, that may have impacted their ability to earn a good living? Were they stripped of their money? Were they not allowed to have any money or employment? Did they lose all their money, maybe in the Depression? Were they unable to find employment or good paying work? It's just a lot. They've all gone through a lot. Thanks, Jalen. Money was never an issue, but was never spoken about money. Right. So when your parents don't talk to you about money, it's very mystifying. We don't know how to make it or manage it or feel about it. I think that's a big problem. So now we're going to get into thinking about, I love this one, some common views. All right, I might have to read a couple of these. My mother just wanted to appear to have money and spent every dollar she made on appearance, as she was poor. Right, so she wanted to appear good enough in the world, right? She spent money on her appearances. My father told me there was just content with what they had, and they were just happy people. It did not appear like accumulating money was their goal. Thanks, Francis. My mother was great with managing money, but I never felt empowered to manage money myself. It would have been a game changer if I had learned early how, right, your mom didn't teach you, Marianne, how to save, invest, and plan for the future. Rachel, what's coming up for me was my parents were big on working hard, money will come. That is a big belief, that you have to work really hard. I may even challenge people on that one. The emphasis was on working hard and but not making money. It's nuanced, but it puts emphasis on fate, right, or luck, right. People say it's not working hard, it's working smart, which is very true. I have clients, they think if I just work harder, right? But are they charging more so they can work less? That's my other talk, charge more, make more, but this is tied in. Okay. Working hard was the big thing. I'm glad I'm not alone, right? So what are some of the views you heard your parents say? Money doesn't grow on trees. And the subtext is there's not enough to go around, right? It's hard to get money. Money, what is this one? I'm not made of money, which means you need too much. We don't have enough, right? So this can induce guilt. Kids, could I get that thing, that toy? No, I'm not made of money. Then you feel guilty, right? This is where our feelings then come from. Money goes out faster than it comes in. Same message, right? You need too much. I don't got it. Money is the root of all evil, right? So, rich people are bad. That's that one. We can't afford it, but a lot of people heard that. That's the lack, right? And that reinforces that there is a lot of lack. The pie is not big enough for you. And this one, I didn't put it up here. I don't think. You have to work hard to make money. I think that's what Rachel said. And people are afraid it's too hard to make a lot of money. And we're going to challenge that, because often it's that people are not, they have this mindset that I can't get it, I don't deserve it, or I can't charge more. We'll talk about that later. That's a waste of money. That's not very nice. That what you want is a waste, right? Your needs are a waste. This one, probably I heard, went around a lot when we were kids. Their children starving in India or whatever country, right? So that you are wasteful and you have more than you need. These are the messages. All right, this is my favorite. Well, it's not my favorite. This is what my dad would say: can't squeeze water from a stone, right? So, interpret that how you will. I interpret that the bank account is empty, so don't even try. And it has also overtones that you want too much. And in fact, when my dad passed away, I found correspondence he wrote to a relative complaining that we were a financial burden and that he was planning to leave us nothing when he died, so we would have nothing to fight over. Mission accomplished. Thank you, Dad. See, I have a lot to unpack like all of you. But who heard any of these growing up? Or, what else did you hear? There's a lot going on in the chat. Sheila, starving children was a big one for me, right? That, how does a kid interpret that kids are starving in another country? Like you are being wasteful, right? Instead of like your needs are important. Money doesn't grow on trees. I know such a common one. Work is hard and not fun, Darcy. Oh, work can be fun and profitable. It did, and also not leave the kids anything strategy. Isn't that awful? My only fear is to lose it all, laws on the monies in the future. Was told not to worry about money, even though it's obvious we had them. Yes, I remember in this talk I did in person, someone said her mother, I think they were on food stamps, but her mother she was like, it'll come in. And so they didn't worry about money. So she really didn't teach her daughter though, how to have some. Yeah, my dad would yell at me if I forgot to turn off the lights because money doesn't grow on trees, right? The amount of money doesn't matter. You're only as valuable as human by how hard or how much you work, right? So we internalize all these messages, and you see how this is starting to shape how you feel about, don't run up my electric bill, how you feel about yourself, right? So now, in addition to things they said, what was their attitudes? I guess it's along the same lines, right? Did they, judge others for having more? Were they frugal? Like I talked about my clients who came from wealth, very frugal, even hoarding, right? Or savers, right? We need everything. Were they withholding? Or were they generous? I think someone else said that, to a fault. Or did they overspend beyond their means, right? So if you want to put in the chat, maybe 2 words that that would describe them. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a little bit of writing, just take a minute, never enough. In what way do you think your parents or ancestors' beliefs and experiences impact your views, fears in your life today? So I want you to take a couple minutes and write that down. Well, it's probably really a minute. Kim, parents are frugal, secretive. It's a lot like sex, right? Very secretive. You don't know what's going on. Latalia, skeptical and proud. Interesting. That's a mixture. Anna, my dad was super cheap. My mom was an overspender, lots of fighting. I mean, who here had lots of fighting about money? You could put a hell yeah in the chat. I mean, just think about the anxiety that instills in you then if your parents are fighting about money, alone and fearful, anxious about money and reckless at the same time. Money it represents more than just money. Money represents love, giving, power, whether they have power, you're unempowered. But I always say that food is our first association with love and care, right? Because when you're a baby, that's the first way that your parents show love, right? They feed you, you cry, you're hungry, and they feed you, right? So that's our first association with food. I feel like our second is money, because from a young age, we start to see they have to buy groceries or toys or clothes, they have to pay the rent. And when you're old enough, like maybe 4 or 5 even, you can start to hear these messages and feel the anxieties around money. Secretive, like learning sex. I know, awful. Oh gosh, and school should be, if our parents are going to teach us this stuff, like how to save, how compounded interest works, like basics that could be taught in school even. People have so much shame around money that they don't know that they're like my age and have business owners or freelancers and they don't know how to manage money. They feel shameful. Business owners feel shameful. They don't know how to look at their P&L statements. No one ever taught them and they're too embarrassed and ashamed to tell anyone. And that's another reason they don't make money, right? They're not profitable. Right. My paternal grandpa, frugal, but didn't seem to struggle. My mom cares what other people think. My dad appears to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. That is probably a common one. Paternal grandmother, generous, always helping others out. Nice. Yeah, Dion, they made me feel like I didn't deserve to have them spend any money on me. So as an adult, I don't feel like I deserve money. This is so common, so sad, right? Okay, so this even shows already, what are some of your thoughts and beliefs about making money or making a lot of money? So, Dan, very good. We think we want to be financially successful, right? Like everyone here wants to be financially successful, I think. But most of us are unaware of our subconscious views that are blocking or sabotaging our financial future. So we could have all the strategies in the world, we can set up all the goals in the world, but until we get really clear, I mean, really clear about our money issues, our blind spots will keep us financially blocked. But once we can identify and bring those subconscious thoughts about money into our awareness, then we can work on them. Because even if we do make a lot of money, if we think we don't deserve it, or that wanting to make more is repulsive, or rich people are bad, we may subconsciously sabotage ourselves by losing it, spending it all, or giving it all away. Or we may not be able to even enjoy it. I mean, there are plenty of wealthy people who do not enjoy their money. They heard you got to work hard. They work so hard, and they never get clients who their life is all work. And what is it for making all that money if you don't get to enjoy it? I have one client, this is many years ago, it was actually a psychotherapy patient who she was very successful. She was a partner in a firm, but because of messages and actually trauma, like a lot of trauma she went through, she didn't feel she deserved to have it. So she subconsciously, until I helped bring it into her consciousness, subconsciously, she got rid of it. She gave so much away, like to friends and gifts, and that she was on the brink of homelessness. And, it was very scary. And she would hide in bed and not go to work. I mean, she was like undoing herself. And I turned out her father was homeless at the same time. She was from a state in the South, and he was living there homeless. So for her, if she became homeless, then she could stay connected to dad, right? So this stuff is deep, really deep. Okay. I love all the comments. I want to read them all. So now let's talk about what you say to yourself, right? So take a couple minutes. You could put it in the chat or you can write it in your notepad. These are common themes I hear from clients, right? I can't afford it. Can't afford it. I can't afford it. I'm not good at managing money. I don't know how to make money. Making money is so hard. Rich people are greedy. Of course, that seems to be common. You only get rich by stepping on others. Being poor is more noble, right? Who here has a romantic view of a starving artist? Or if you're in the helping profession, that's another one. People don't feel, I help people, so how could I charge for that? But, or do you think if I charge more, I'll lose clients? Charging more money is selfish. And this is very common. I don't do this for the money. I can't tell you how many times I talk to clients, potential clients. I don't do this for the money. Well, that might be a problem because how are you going to take care of yourself, right? But there's this deep fear that they will feel greedy or bad or shameful. Or this one, so common, I just need to make enough so I don't worry, right? I'd always say, like, is there really any price tag on worry, right? Because there's, like we said, plenty of wealthy people that worry too, right? They just haven't addressed their money issues, right? So that's why they're still worried. I'm a starving artist. I'm not healthy enough to work long hours. My industry is 12. That's not good, Emily. 12, 14-hour days. We have to talk. Carla, making money is harder and keeping it's even harder. No, it's not Mary, it's not a fun position to be in for sure. Okay. So if anyone can relate to these, put in the chat what resonates for you or any other beliefs you have about money or wealth. So I can't afford it. Can't afford it is a big one. Francis, I just need enough so I don't worry it is a limiting belief. Thanks, Francis, because there's no number, right? So we have to then address what the anxiety is about. We want to unpack it. And then when we get to the strategies, that's what we're going to be talking about. That the work I do is not valued by society at large. Oh, I don't deserve, Keely, to make X amount, right? I don't do for the money. I just need enough money so I don't worry. KSPGO. Natalia, if I increase my rates, I'll lose clients. That's a very common one, especially for freelancers. Won't have enough to ever retire. Okay, I'll never get out of debt. Having little income is okay because, oops, later in the year, I'll be busy. Been saying this my whole freelance career. Does enough take into account anything beyond bare necessities? I'll not be able to retire, right? Okay, so thank you guys. I so appreciate it. And you guys can see you're not alone, right? Like really, this is nothing to be ashamed of because we all have these same thoughts. Kim, my mom instills limiting beliefs that we are only allowed to make so we can have enough. Oh, right. That's another thank you, Kim. That's another comment because if we make more, it'll be taken away. Oh, because of a prediction of when she was a child. I do have people who, yeah, I don't know. That's a new one. If it'll be taken away, but that if you want more, like you want a lot of money, that's a luxury and you don't need luxuries. That's a common one I have heard. Like, why you don't spend luxury money on luxury, you spend it on necessities. But what is a necessity? My parents talked about how Wall Street is a casino. Oh, geez. So the challenge of financial risk of losing everything gets invested. Right. Big barrier. Right. So I don't know if you invest your money, Rachel, but that would deter anybody. So take a couple minutes now we're going to talk about your fears. I think you've been writing some of these already, right? I'm afraid I'm never going to make a lot of money. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to make enough to support myself or my family. I'm afraid I won't be able to meet my monthly expenses. If I make the wrong decisions, I could lose everything, right? How many people have felt they live paycheck to paycheck or they're only one paycheck away from being homeless? I won't have enough for retirement or old age. That's already come up. No one, this is mine. No one I mean, some of these are mine too. No one in my family was financially successful. I saw so many people lose their jobs or work and never recover. So I'm afraid I'm like them, but I know I'm not. I'll look greedy if I want to make a lot of money. If I make a lot of money, people will envy me and feel bad, right? So that's some of it. Fears are often about, my mother buys lottery tickets every week. She's basing her hopes on luck, right? That's not a great strategy. Because there's a guy in my neighborhood who won $1 million in the lottery. And he worked at the front desk at my health club. And he complained every time I come in. He's always complaining. Then he's a gambler. He wins $1 million. What do you think happened? He lost it all, right? He lost it all, and now he still has no money. So you got to address the money mindset. And fears are often about the future. What will happen if, blah, blah, blah. Our frequent fears can even cause physical and emotional problems. We already talked about not sleeping. Our mind and body goes to fight, flight, or even freeze. We may become paralyzed from taking action or making decisions. So we avoid, excuse me, we procrastinate, we burn out. The person who works 12, 14 hours, that's not sustainable, right? The stress of it all can lead to chronic anxiety and even depression. So I know we've been talking about this. So it's one more question. How do you think your fears, thoughts, and beliefs impact your life today? Right. So you can write that down. Yeah, it is a sad lottery story. False, right. Fear, false evidence appearing real. A dream. Sorry. I love that. That is fear, false evidence appearing real. So true. Yeah, I remember I gave this talk in person, and one of the women, she grew up really poor in the projects, but she was really successful now. And she was working on building a business, but she didn't tell her family because one, they all will ask her for money. And two, they would feel envious, jealous. But the problem was then now she feels alone, right? She can't connect her family. She's like different than them, right? She's afraid she's going to hurt them with her success. So now, fear I will never change. Well, that's why you're here. Oh, Deneen, I've been saying your name wrong. I'm sorry. You have to tell me how to pronounce it. I apologize. But that's why you're here, right? So now that it's in your awareness, you can start to have a different relationship with money. Okay. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but you don't have to accept your family's limiting beliefs and values. You don't about money and wealth if you don't want to. So I want you to think about that. Right? Like you learned them, you can unlearn them and replace them. And that's what we're going to get to. You do get to choose the beliefs you want to have about money and wealth. You get to decide what you want your relationship with money to be like. You can decide you want to make a lot of money because it gives you more freedom and options. It can make your business thrive and be financially sound, right? Because maybe you want to make a lot of money because you're entitled to be financially successful. Because it will help you take care of yourself. And if you have a family and your family, you get to do more in the world, right? You get to do more for yourself and you get to do more for others. You know, there are a lot of wealthy people. They get to choose what charities or what causes they want to put their money behind. So and I've worked with nonprofits, to work your buns off at a nonprofit for a low salary doesn't even make sense. If you could, I mean, I'm not disparaging that, but I saw the low salaries people work so hard for. If you make a lot of money, then you can have a greater impact on these causes and you get to do what you want with the money. And it lifts you up and others around you. And it's a form of self-care. It really is, like food, right? Think about it as self-care, just as fundamental as food. So you can decide that you're not going to stay small and try to make others comfortable. That's my issue, because your growth is more important. And staying small actually doesn't serve you or them, because not only can we not control what others think about us, who knows, maybe you inspire them to believe they can do it too. When you make more money, there are a lot of positive ripple effects in the world. They really are. But most often, people struggle with money because they learned how to have a scarcity mindset. That's what we've been talking about, what you learned, right? Sorry. Right. I'm sorry. Francis KSPG. Oh, also Yeah, my husband too, in 2008. All right, I had just had my son, and yeah, my husband lost his business. He's a photographer, in all the magazines he worked for folded pretty quickly. He had to lay off his staff, and he had to totally pivot, and it took a really long time. Yeah, We Should All Be Millionaires, great book. We can talk about some books later. I have so many great books. A scarcity mindset is when you believe opportunities, resources, and wealth are limited. You experience feelings of not having enough. You see life as a finite pie, that there are not enough slices to go around for everyone. You think a lot about what you don't have, but the key to having more is shifting from that scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset. So an abundant mindset is when you believe there are unlimited amount of opportunities, resources, and wealth in the world for you and everyone else, because there are. There's like 270 million people in this country alone, right? How many businesses, how many people need your services? There's millions out there that need your help. An abundant mindset opens us up to receiving more. You create an abundant life when you're focused on all that you do have and all that is available to you. To make this mindset shift, we have to retrain our mind to shift from those subconscious negative thoughts of scarcity and lack to positive thoughts of abundance and prosperity. And the words we say or think have a profound influence on creating our reality. So negative thoughts will only give you negative results, and positive thoughts will give you positive results. So if anyone agrees with that, put a hell yeah in the chat. Hell yeah, right? You got to get those positive thoughts going. Right. Because we got to overcome the negativity bias that we're even wired to have. Forget our ancestors, even put them aside for a moment. We're born with a negativity bias. So we have to work on the positive mindset and the positive thoughts. So if you think I can't afford it, whether it's true or not, then mindset and even identity of someone who can't afford stuff, right? If you say, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it over and over and over many times every day, then your focus is on what you don't have. And you're subconsciously giving yourself the evidence that you can't afford things. Then you're creating the roadblocks to afford things, and that becomes your reality. If you think, I don't know how to make a lot of money, you won't focus on how to learn how to make a lot of money, right? If your inner voice says, clients won't pay me more, you won't find clients who'll pay you more. So if your thoughts come from a scarcity mindset, your focus is on lack of money, your inability to have or make money, and that is what will play out in your life, okay? So who's ready to send your ancestors packing back to the past where they belong? Right, law of attraction. You are what you attract, what you think. Put a hell yeah in the chat. Send those ancestors back, right? You're ready. We're ready. Now we're going to work on how to get them out. As I like to say, turn the volume down on their thoughts and their beliefs that you've internalized, and let's turn the volume up on what you want to think, right? We're going to work on how to intentionally create your money mindset to create new beliefs and make new money true. So you believe you can make more and have financial freedom. You know, it's just like going to the gym and doing exercise. Like you don't go work out, you're in shape, and then you're one and done. I'm now in shape for the rest of my life. I don't have to do it anymore. It's the same about our mindset. To change our life, we have to do the mindset exercises every day, over and over, intentionally and regularly, to rewire, to reframe our brains, to have that abundant mindset. And someone asked me this once, does it really work? It does really work. And NASA scientists have even researched that intentional work over time really does work. We can reprogram and create new neural pathways in our brain so that we override the negativity bias, and now we start to look for positive. So here's where it starts. This is what we do. You may not have heard of this before, but I recommend journaling big time. Some of my clients know that. I like to start with fear journaling. Fear journaling, that's crazy. But we all have so many feelings. We do our best to avoid and escape from because we don't want to feel them or we don't trust them. And then when we understand these feelings, though, and where they come from, then we can address and manage them. So when we run away from them, whatever we do, we drink, we shop, we, all the things we binge on Netflix, you know, we're avoiding them, but they're still there, right? That's what's keeping you from sleeping. So rather than running from these feelings, it's more impactful and productive to understand them, feel them, and work on them and through writing. So for example, if you feel afraid to charge clients more, and you're going to write about this, I'm afraid to charge, I'll lose clients. Ask yourself why. You want to unpack it. Are you afraid you're going to seem greedy? Because it might be different for everyone. Are you afraid you're going to seem greedy? Are you afraid you don't deserve it? And if you do, why is that? Where did that idea come from, right? You're going to keep unpacking it. And then, so we'll talk about what you do after you go through the fears, get them out, spend 10 minutes or more, however long it takes, on writing out your fears and your anxieties about money. Dig deep into what you find, let yourself go through the process. We just touched on it earlier, right? So you get a taste of what that is like. Even in the chat, you guys have been amazing. So you're going to spend time doing this daily, and you will be very surprised what else you discover about yourself, right? So that's the first step. It's right. Right. Toxic positivity is ignoring our feelings. You have to feel that. No one wants to feel the negative feelings. No one wants to fear anxiety. But what happens with anxiety is it's contained worries and fears. So if we get to it and get it out, then we can say, okay, these are sensations. I have these thoughts and feelings. And then what can I do instead? So it's not toxic positivity. I know there's a lot of that goes around on the web and stuff. It is important, though, to create empowering messages, whatever you want to call them, affirmations, mantras for yourself that are supportive, right? So after you identify your specific thoughts and beliefs around money, you reframe them, right? So you get the fears out, you unpack, you feel it. And then you think, what can I tell myself to reframe it that I can believe? Intentionally replacing our old thoughts with new ones reprograms our mind to believe you can achieve your financial goals. There's actually research, I didn't even have this in here, about visualization, that just visualizing something, you are teaching yourself and your mind to actually do something. There's a quick one about basketball players. They found that basketball players who they did a study, just visualize doing a free throw. And then they studied the ones who spent hours training to get the free throw. Can't say it. And the ones who only visualized it, they didn't practice. They had a 23% increase in their free throws. The ones who practiced had a 24% increase. That's so close. I mean, that's how powerful visualizing, but writing. And I don't know if you guys know the Jim Carrey story, where when he was poor, I think he was trying to be an actor. I don't know, he was living in a car. He had nothing. And he wrote a check to himself for $10 million. He kept it in his wallet. And fast forward, when he got his first film job, I think it was Dumb and Dumber. He was really quite smart. Guess what they paid him? His first check was $10 million. I mean, it's not woo-woo. It's that he planted the seeds to take the actions to get there, right? So it's how these positive words make you feel, which is the most important part. Because over time, your emotions, if they change, if you feel into some of these, I radiate success. I'm grateful for all the money I have. I'm a money magnet. Money flows to me easily and freely. I use my wealth to make a positive impact in the world. I radiate success. I think I said that. There are no limits to what I can achieve. You know, the more you say it, the kids start to feel it, right? And it's the feelings that dictate the actions we take, and the actions lead to our results, right? So these are some of mine. I don't know if you can see it, take a screenshot. I'm just looking at the time. And I want to get to some Q&A if we have time. My income is constantly increasing. I do work I love. I'm well paid for it. I am worthy and deserving of wealth. Opportunities are everywhere. I can use my wealth to make a positive impact in the world. And notice how you feel after saying one of these mantras many times. So chew on this one. Money is neither good or bad. It's neutral. It's just paper, right? There's no emotion that is attached to actual money. It's what you think about it, though, what you say about it, and what attributes you imbue it with that gives it its power. So you get to decide what power you want to give it, right? You get to change, you can change your mindset. You have to spend the time planting the seeds in your mind to make them grow. And to really integrate this into your being, you have to reinforce these new views as often as possible, every single day. Your mind gym. Let's go to the mind gym. Okay. And this is a big one. And again, this sounds like I've heard that. Practice gratitude. Well, let me tell you, this stuff really works. And, personally, after I had my son 16 years ago, I had suffered from extreme postpartum depression, anxiety, like really bad. And intuitively, I started keeping a journal at night. I would just write down any small thing I could think of that I felt good about. Took him for a walk. I gave him a bottle, gave him a nap, like whatever little thing. I took a shower, and I didn't know, but in the look back, I now know I was retraining my mind. I wouldn't let myself write down anything that, I felt bad about myself, right? And I did build myself back up, and that was a big part of it, was actually that journal. So I love journaling. In your journal, after doing the fear journaling, now you're going to write down 3 to 5 things you feel grateful for every morning, right? And end of the day, same thing, right? 3 to 5 positive things you feel good about you did that day. Because our subconscious, while we dream, people mention dreams, is percolating and working on this stuff, right? So that's cool. We're doing the work while we sleep. When you have a scarcity, you can write down it could be like, I wrote that email that I've been putting off, or I made my bed today. Like, it doesn't matter how small. It really doesn't. The point is you're training your brain to focus on what you did do, what you do have. Because when you're in a scarcity mindset and focused on what's missing, it's easy to stop paying attention to all you have accomplished and all the things you do have in your life, right? Was when you focus on what you have instead of what you don't, you're training your mind to look for abundance and let's look for it, to be, now you're open to receiving more abundance when you're in that mode. So be intentional about your gratitude. Really think about the things that are abundant in your life. I have a home. I have food in my refrigerator. I have a bed to sleep in. I'm healthy. I have close friends. I love my husband and son, our goofy cats. They bring us so much joy. I love my neighborhood and my community. It totally rocks, right? So gratitude should be what you appreciate also about yourself. What makes you special? Do you appreciate your creative talents, or are you good at problem solving, or, you admire your thoughtful nature, or you love having a good sense of humor? So once you start focusing on what you appreciate in your external and internal world, you will actually feel abundant and rich in what you do have, and you'll start to see abundance show up more in your life, and you'll feel more positive and optimistic. Okay. This is Oprah. This is one of my favorite quotes. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. And if anybody knows about manifestation, it will be Oprah, right? You will know her story and where she came from. one of the most successful women ever, I would say. So we have a little time. I'm going to take questions. Before I do, I just want to tell you about the special offer, right, that we mentioned at the beginning of the talk. If you weren't here at the start, I'm Diana Zelvin, and I'm a business coach and psychotherapist. I help business owners and freelancers like yourselves build more profitable businesses doing what they love. And I hope you guys learned a ton today. And if anyone would like some help directly from me, I'm offering a handful of free 1-hour one-on-one brainstorming sessions to people who want to learn how you can implement some of these ideas. You want to dig a little deeper into your business and life, and you want to look at what's working for you, what's not working for you, and we'll talk about what you really need to focus on. If you want to know what it would be like to work with me as well, we can dig into those details too. So I only have a handful of slots because I'm only one of me, and there's like 50 some of you. So if you'd like one, Jalen, did you put in the link?
I just did.
He did, my Calendly. So there, grab a spot. I can't wait to meet with you. I did this last time. I really enjoyed talking with people and seeing what I can do to help them. I only ask if you book a spot, please show up on time, because otherwise you take it from somebody else who wants it. Or if you can't make it, please give me a lot of notice. But be prepared to be coachable and open to feedback, because that's my job. Point out the things that you may not be noticing in your business and life, and be ready to take action in your business, because we're going to explore things you want to be implementing. So be ready to get moving on all your stuff. So we do have, whoever has the time, Jalen, if you saw any questions, if people want to raise their hand, what money books do you recommend? I'll start with that one. I do love You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. That's a really good one. And also, God, what's that classic? I'm just drawing a blank. Oh God, I'm sorry. How about Chill and Prosper? That's another good one. There's a classic though. Who knows what it is? Oh my God. I don't know. I apologize. Who Moved My Cheese? That's a good one on how to pivot for sure. Grow, what is it? Grow Rich? What is that one from Think and Grow Rich? Thank you, Joy. Think and Grow Rich. That was the one. That was written like, I think in the 1920s, and he interviewed like, they were of course old white guys, but they were the most successful people. Yeah, Chill and Prosper is phenomenal. They were some of the most successful people, and he studied what they did. And guess what they did? A lot of it was mindset. I mean, it was all mindset work, but he studied how they became really successful. So You're Badass at Making Money, We All Deserve to Be Millionaires, Chill and Prosper, they all kind of piggyback on his views. Any other questions? Anyone put in the chat? Anyone who raised their hands? I don't know, Jalen, if you had picked up any questions from earlier.
No questions from before.
Francis, do you want to come on screen?
Yes, I want to.
Yay. I love it. Great.
Yeah, so this is great. Thanks for your presentation style. I mean, if you wrote all those by hand, then we appreciate how deeply connected you are to the subject matter. My question is, I have been brought up to be sort of generous. Like I saw a lot of generous people around me. So I am often caught between the giving out what I have part and then making for myself. So I constantly find myself fighting between the spectrum of making money, i.e., and giving out money. So prioritizing myself. Like, how do you address that conundrum where you talked about before? And I find it to be very limiting. And I don't know if you want to speak to this issue of making enough so you don't have to worry about it. So there have been a concept recently in the social media, like fuck you money, like find out how much money you need to live the life you want to live, so that you don't have to bother about making more money. So, and I internalized that concept some 5 years ago, and I think it has limited my yearn for money. And so I just want to find out your views on these two issues. Over.
Great, thank you. Those are great questions. The first one, and I hope you don't mind, is kind of deep, Francis. I imagine that you feel guilty. If you want to stay on, do you feel guilty, what you keep for yourself because you were taught to give?
Yeah, like for instance, I feel guilty because I remember I grew up in Ghana in a very religious family where you give at least 10% of what you make every week to the church or to donate to something. And I don't do that quite often. So I feel guilty for the amount of money I don't give out from the total money I make in a week or in a month. So the guilt wears me down. That's the point.
Yes, and it's actually paradoxical because it's weighing you down and maybe causing you to feel a little frozen. If you were taught, I'm going to say what you were taught and now what you could do. If you were taught that giving is more important, and this is a very common message across the board that I hear from everybody on a deep level, that their needs were not prioritized, right? That others are more important, maybe their parents' needs, the community's needs. And so the child then feels like, I'm not enough, right? I don't deserve. And so you then have to work on the piece. The paradox is that if you do actually make more, then you can give as much as, like if you make more for yourself, you can give as much as you want. But when it's a requirement, I think that is really, that's really binding. And so if you do the journaling, you want to unpack how you feel about it. Like, okay, you were taught that, and it may be, and this is hard for most people, like to go against what we're taught by our parents or even the church, right? Or the temple, as it may be, or our culture, right? But how do you want to feel about it? And does it serve you? When you want to come up with your values and think about, do those actions, even though you were taught it, and I know it instills guilt, does it serve you? And I think the more that you can get the message to yourself that we're all deserving. Everyone is entitled to do well, just because you don't have to do it because you're better than anyone else. We're all entitled to it, but we don't feel entitled. That was my last talk. The imposter syndrome is not feeling good enough, right? Is those deep feelings, I don't deserve. So we take a back seat, and then it holds you back from actually, if you want to give, right? And I forgot the second question. It was about not making enough.
Yeah, no, the second question is about a general belief that instead of dedicating your life to just pursuing money, hoarding money, find out how much you need to live the life you want to live, i.e. determine the life you want to live and make enough money for that life. That one.
I mean, that's one way of looking at it, right? Like if you want to travel, if you want to own a home, but I really don't think there's a number. I mean, there's actually research that shows after a person earns anything more than 75,000, if you earn less, it will affect how you feel about yourself and your happiness. But any more than 75,000 a year, it does not affect someone's happiness. So it may, even I like people who have, I mean, I have a client, he and his husband they're in their mid-50s, they make a great living, but he feels he's one step away from homelessness. Now, that comes from his past. And so you want to look at one of his parents died when he was young. Everything was taken away from him. And so he lives, that's part of his fear, right? Even though intellectually he knows that historically he's always made good money, but there's still that fear. So there's no real number. So you have to address the fears, and you want to enjoy the journey. So you want to do work that you enjoy and get well paid for it. And that's probably like a whole nother talk, because people, they're like, I can't charge more because they don't pay my profession. They don't pay more than that. I get that a lot, or at my age, right? But I challenge that, because really the pie is so big, right? So it's not, you'll make, 200,000 and you'll never worry again. Until you address the real fears, you can make 200,000, you can make $1 million and still have a lot of anxiety, right? So you want to get to the fears. I'm thinking of some clients who, another one who does make good money, but he is an only child. His parents don't do that well, and they lost their money in their country of origin. Like, this goes back to it, right? Their ancestors, their money was tied up in that country, in the banks. So he's afraid to put money in the bank, and he's afraid to lose it. So it's based on reality, but his reality is also he makes a good living. He makes well over 6 figures. He's a freelancer. So think more about writing about how you want to think about it, and you should have goal numbers. Like, when I work with people, I do say, how much do you want to earn a year from now? And I reverse engineer, well, how much then do you need to make a month? Okay, you want to make 10K a month. Well, how many projects would you need to do to get to 10K? And what do you need to charge? Oops, sorry, my Zoom is doing that. So anyway, I hope that's helpful.
Yes, that's very helpful. The second point, very well made. And the first one on aligning what we've been taught with our values.
What not your culture and that's hard. That's
yeah,
hard to do.
Yeah. But then obviously a bit of journaling and introspection will help. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Francis, so much.
I think Darcy had her hand up previously.
Sure, Darcy, what you got?
Yeah, hi. It's nice to meet you, and thank you for the presentation. I think I struggle with, like, the part where you said, like, you gave us sort of this like step-by-step, like fear journaling and gratitude, and then like using like positive messages and mantras to rewire. I think like one thing I struggle with, and maybe this is just like a habit thing, but I've heard this before, and like I'll start to do like the positive mantras, like I'll try to say them out loud, but I don't know, it's like I have trouble like getting it to stick. And I mean, that's where I'm like, maybe it's a habit thing, or I don't know. If you have any suggestions or tips, I'm all ears.
No, that is one of the best questions, because I know that comes up a lot. Like, I've done affirmations, they don't work for me, right? No, yeah. I mean, listen, this stuff is deeply ingrained in us. Like, I don't know how old you are, but however old you are, you've had all those years feeling that way, right? So that's why we could call it fear journal. You can call it, brain dump. We have to look at that first. We can't just do affirmations, because our thoughts, we have to capture what our thoughts are. Mm-hmm. And our thoughts lead to our emotions. So if we have anxiety and we're thinking, oh gosh, I can't afford that, I can't afford that, we want to capture that thought. We want to write it down. Okay, why do I feel I can't afford it? Or how much did I make this month? Do I have money coming? Just, you want to unpack it. Why do I feel that way? You really and this people may feel resistant to, you have to feel the feelings. So just doing the mantras and the affirmations, it is not enough. I mean, yeah, it worked for Jim Carrey, I was talking about Muhammad Ali, right? And he's like, I'm the world's greatest boxer. But he said it over and over and over until he was. But he wasn't at first. But the reason it worked for him, I mean, partly he had a belief course he said it, he felt it, that he could, you know, I have a client, she wrote down her money fear. She wrote down like 25 times. I mean, people do recommend, I think even in Think and Grow Rich, is like, write it down 25 times what the, what you want to feel, right? So you write it as if you already feel that way, but you have to address all that's in there, you know, and that is the work I do with people. I mean, it's not so easy. I don't want to mislead people, think it's really easy just to journal and then come up with some positive things. But if you do it like exercise, first find out what the junk is in there, what's in there. And then you can come up with some simple, my client came up with a beautiful one, you know, money flows easily and freely to me. And she, you know, the ease is what I think a lot of people want, right? They don't want anxiety. Like, I got to work hard, you know. So that was a good one from her that came out of writing first all the negative. And then it just came to her. And then came to her like, the universe supports this. That just came out of her. She didn't even know she had that in her. And after years and years of beliefs that she wasn't allowed to make money. So you got to unpack the negative first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful. I feel like I'm trying to bypass like step 1 to get to step 3. So thank you.
There is no, right, there's no shortcut. We got to do step 1. Thanks,
Yeah.
Darcy. I appreciate you coming on and your question.
Thank you.
Anyone
Cool.
else?
Well, I think we're actually at time, just to be
Okay.
respectful for everyone else. But I do want to thank you, Diana, for taking time of your day to lead this workshop. Thank you, everyone else, for participating. A lot of great insights in the chat, a lot of great just kind of insights with what everyone's dealing with. So a lot of people, I feel like, are seen, and now that they know that they're not alone dealing with this mindset and just kind of these barriers that they're facing with how they approach money and things like that. I think it's just always a great topic just to kind of have, just for, especially for people wanting to start their own business, that it does prevent them to excel and just leveling up just with this scarcity mindset. So thank you everyone for taking time. Hopefully you did take advantage of Diana's freebie with her free consultation. I will include that as well in the recap email if you haven't signed up, and hopefully there's still spots left at that time. But I will email everyone the recording link later today. Definitely stay in touch with everything Diana does. Give her a follow on Instagram. Feel free to contact her with any other questions. She will be teaching again with us in the future. We don't have anything set right now, but she'll definitely be back. That I can promise you. But I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you at the next event. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, Jalen.
Bye.